and welcome to this week's YouTube vlog from Barton Oil Burner Services, and I hope everyone's keeping well this week. So we are going to show you a AGA cooker. It's the vaporising AGA cooker with wicks in it as opposed to a Jet one. And yeah, we're going to a customer, not been there before, and we're going to investigate why it's not working. So it's generally a breakdown, more likely going to need a service. So I'm going to show you how to service the AGA, how to put the wicks in it, but I'm not going to go in too deep. You know, there is other aspects like flow rating them, checking things like metering stems, flow controls, draft, etc, etc. I'm just going to give you an overview. I'm not going to go deep, okay, for the pure reason that I don't really want people, or we don't want people fiddling with them. They shouldn't be fiddled with AGA cookers. They are like a ticking time bomb. If you want to have a fiddle, they can catch fire, they can do all sorts, so leave it to the experts. So anyway, enough about me chatting. As always, thanks to everyone that's subscribed, and onto the vlog. Here's our AGA cooker. It's an old AGA, you can tell, because it's got the flat front on it, and you can tell by the emblem sign on there that it's old. They do two types of AGA. One is a purpose built and one is a conversion. Conversion one is what we've got here. It used to be a coal, it used to go in the bottom here, and it used to obviously warm the main hob which is there. So for the purposes of this service, I've already removed this hob. They weigh a ton, so I've managed to lift that out of the way. And what we're left with behind is this. As you can see there, you have like a deflection plate. So I'm just going to remove it. And then under there you can see the shells. So this is the top lid to the shells, number 6 lids. And you've got, in there you have 4 shells that go on the main burner, because it's essentially a wick burner. So I'm just going to remove them. Perfect, and you're left with a centre core. So this is like the centre core here, which is where the oil comes in. And if I lift that out the way, you will see, voila, loads of carbon. That is why the AGA's not running, because it's carboned up. And if you see, if I can do it, just there and just there are the wicks, which I'm now going to remove. So there's one wick there, and number 2 that's there, if it comes out. There we go. So I'm now going to clean this burner. So I just need to undo the nuts that's just there at the back, and then I'm going to undo at the front here. And I'm going to remove the burner, and then I will show you. So here we go, one burner removed. This is a 6-inch burner. As you can see, there's 2 chamber wells here, and you've got the main part in the middle here where the oil comes in. So the idea is drip feed. It comes from this flow control, which I'll go through later. Okay, it then comes with a 8mm pipe in to the elbow here, and then goes down this, which some people call them carbon legs, some people call them bungee tubes. We call them bungee tubes. The oil goes down there into the elbow, and then we turn it over. The oil comes through and then floods out to a very specific depth, and then it just flows in at 4 to 8 cc's a minute of oil, depending. And then that basically it just runs on wick, and that's how it gets its heat. So I'm now going to remove all this carbon. I have to clean around here. I then have to clean around here as well. There'll be a hole in there. Hopefully I'll be able to get it out of a screwdriver. Sometimes you have to give them a light drill. I need to clean there because that's oil ways. There's oil ways just there. Okay, so I need to clean all them, turn it over. I need to clean this elbow. I then need to clean the bungee tube as well. And then I need to check things for cracks on here and stuff like that, the burner for cracks. And yeah, once it's really clean, then I'll be back to you. That took me 25 minutes, that was solid. But as you can see by that, it's nice and clean now. Okay, it's absolutely lovely. Right, so that's going to work fine now. And just to be extra sure, I'll just get my little tool here. We'll just make sure that the flue ways, as you can see, I can just pop through them nice and easy. Straight through, take it out, straight through. Nice and easy, I can go straight through them flue ways, so they're clear as well. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do, we're going to turn it over. I've taken the bungee tube off. Here's the old one here. Okay, and you can probably see by that, hopefully, maybe not, maybe it's blocked. So the easiest way to deal with them is to drill them. So I use a drill, 3mm drill. I put it in, and I basically very gently drill. And as you can see, very quickly, it's cleared. Now, for all you gurus out there, I know you can't do that every time because sometimes they're bent. And the thing about bungee tubes is that they have to be bent to get in place sometimes, etc, etc. And the other thing is, a good practice is always mark the tube where you took it off, because if it's in a slightly different position and it is bent, you're basically not even going to be able to get the thing back together. So I'm now going to remove the tape from here, the PTFE, the one from this side, and then I'm going to put more PTFE on. I'm going to put it back in here, and then we're going to get to the next step. Just going to jump back a step. Before I put it back, I've just remembered I need to put a new wick in it. So the old wick on the AGA, let me just get it. It goes brittle and stiff. So it becomes very like, can you see it's sort of breaking up the wick? So it's no good. It just needs to be basically thrown away. New wick. So you can buy it, but we always make our own. So I'm just going to pull the pin out. And before we go any further, thanks for the coffee. Unfortunately, I've drunk it, but it's very nice. Anyway, moving on swiftly, we just put it round. You need good scissors for this, really good scissors. And we basically cut it, like so. It's quite stringy, this stuff, so you just have to mess around a little bit. There we go. I'll deal with that in a minute. And then we have to do it on the inside as well. It's not as easy as it looks. People think just cut wick. It's quite hard. It's got tiny bits of metal in. I don't know if you're going to be able to see that, but in there you'll see tiny strands of metal. If I get it in the light, maybe not, but there is all little bits of metal in there, so it's quite hard to actually cut. So you need some really decent scissors. So there's your oil ways there. So you've got them there, 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 and there. We need to cut little niches out of the wick. So I'm just going to mark it first. So we get where the cut is, and we line it up with one of them, and where the cut is, and we line it up with the other side. And we basically mark it like so. Now there is a folding technique which I can show you, but I'm just trying to really simplify for people. You just fold it 3 ways basically, and then you get the same result. I don't tend to do it that way because I've made a few mistakes in the time. I just think it's much easier. Do a really simple pencil mark. Personal preferences. Okay. Just make them a bit more so you can see them. So there we go. You can see my pencil marks there. And exactly the same on that one. So I'm just going to cut it. That is the centre of it. So I'm just going to go like that. Along and out. Down. Along. Out. And we repeat. So I'm just going to finish this one. I'm getting to the end of my reel of wick, so it's getting a bit, keeps curling back on itself if you can't see it properly. There we are. Down. I tend to go along about three to four of the down bits here before I cut out. Now there we go. Okay, but at the end, because we're where we are, we have to go half one, out. Pull that off. Turn it over. Half one, out. And then the idea is they should meet in the middle. Right, one. Now I need to do the other one. So this one's a bit closer together, so we can't go too mad. I'll do them a little bit smaller. If you don't cut these, what it tends to do is carbon up the oil ways because it just can't flow properly. So that's why you do this. It just speeds the scenario up a little bit. Here we go. Done. Okay, now I'll plonk it back in and I'll be back with you. Burner back in, as you can see, it's a lot cleaner. It's fine. Okay, I've reconnected the oil pipe there. This, very important, a level. This burner has to be lead level, okay? Two-way level for AGAs. Okay, I'm just going to plonk that on. And as you can see, it's level, okay? I've just done that. You have to get it level and do the nut up at the back. It's just taking me 10 minutes, so don't feel like you can do it quickly, because sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. Okay, so we're just going to put that back. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to flood it. Okay, so we need to flood the oil in. Now, this is a very general quick overview of an AGA. What I would actually do first is I would spin the carbon leg stroke bungee tube here round into a little, like, it's like a conical tube, like glass tube, and I would do a low flow rate to see if it's 4 cc's a minute, and a high flow rate which comes from here, and then I would adjust as necessary to get by my base setting, and then I would flood it. But as this is an overview and I don't want to show everybody everything, I'm not going to do that in front of you. Okay, so here's the flow control there. This is the manual flow control. They do two. This is manual. You manually adjust it up and down. Very obvious. They do one with a small electric top as well, but clearly this hasn't got it, so I can't explain it to you. Okay, I'm not going to go in this too deep, but I can advise anybody who's a DIYer and not a trained professional who knows all about AGAs, please do not touch these. Okay, right, so we've got 3 screws. One. And number 3, there we go. And we lift this off. This is your main flow control. Okay, on the floor. So we can see in there, that is your flow control. It's quite dirty in there. Okay, so this is your level. So the level in the flow control, okay, is the level of the AGA cooker. So this flow control must never be adjusted up or adjusted down. Otherwise the AGA will either not work or catch fire. So we're going to go in and have a look at the metering stem now. So on here, this is the metering stem, okay, just there. This is the bit where all the oil goes by. You can see the oil level in there as well. That's the float. So obviously it keeps an eye on the level. And that's the inlet there where it comes flying through, which is a big pin on the end. And there's your filter in the end. So I would check that. I don't check it every year, probably every couple of years that would be checked. Okay, and things like the pin I checked occasionally. Don't go into that too much, and I'm not going to tell you anything about that because that's not the idea of this video. So just to speed things up and get the oil through faster to the AGA, stop any airlocks, I'm just going to spin that and lift it. This is the metering stem. Now as you can see, it's dirty, and if I spin it, there is a little slit. All the oil that feeds the AGA cooker burner goes through that slit. Okay, so if you damage it and make it too bigger, it'll just catch fire. If it's blocked, it won't work. But at the moment, it's dirty. So if you get any slight bit of dirt, even a hair, go over that slit, the AGA won't work. So I'm just going to give it a quick clean. Voila. Nice and clean. There's a slit there now. You can just see it on the end. Okay, it's lovely and clean. So what we're going to do, we're going to push down onto this spring. We're going to push it back down into the hole. And there's a tiny little spring here, which we just need to lift up, which is there. And then that works a dream. Okay, so we're now going to put the top back on. Like so. And we're going to do the 3. Push up again. 1, 2, 3. that's minimum, that's maximum. If you listen, that's 1 off, that's 2 offs. But for this case, on, we're going to turn it right up. The oil's already been going through anyway, but I was just showing you how to do it. Let's get up again. This is where it's critical. As you can see, the oil, it's quite hard to get that. There, look, you can see it's discoloured now in there. There is your oil in the burner, okay? It's in there lovely. That has to be a certain depth, okay? Now, I can't think exactly what the depth is off the top of my head, but it doesn't matter, however, because just here is the end of a hacksaw. The hole at the bottom is just a little bit too low for the depth. The top of the hole will mean the oil level is too high, and the centre of the hole is exactly the right depth of oil. Okay, I've made this like this, and that's how we work. It's just easier to do. Okay, an old trick. So we're going to put that down. We're going to push it in the middle. We're going to come out. We're going to look at it. You can't quite see there, but it is bang in the middle. Okay, you can't quite see it on there, but I can. So that's in the middle. So the oil depth is basically just there. Okay, not the best video, but it's very hard to do. So next thing is to put the wicks back in. So put the little one in first, like so. So I've put the cutout at the front of the burner where they join there, which is a well. You don't want that on the front one because there's a lighting port, which is here. If you had the cutout at the front on the outside wick, at the lighting port, it would create air and an orange flame. So the other one, the cutout where my fingers are, is at the back. Push it down nice and gently. That will now soak. Okay, I'm now going to put the centre plug in. Make sure it spins, which it does. So again, the join where this shell joins together, the inner shell, is at the front. The second shell, we have to be careful with these to make sure that all these holes that are in them, there's no corrosion and none of them join together. Okay, to create 2 holes, because if we do it, create secondary air even. That is to the left, the join. You get the next one. That's to the right. And then the front one is at the back. This is the first one. And there's a lighting port in that hole, which I'll explain in a second. We have the lid and the diverter. So the diverter basically is like that underneath. All it does is just diverts heat into there, into the oven. That's where it's going. Right, I'm just going to lift that punk in. It weighs an absolute blooming ton, okay? And I'll be back with you to light it. So the hob's back in. As you can see, there's a gap, okay? There should be insulation in there. Okay, rock wool it's called for AGAs, okay? If I push on there, it's gone very soft in there, okay? And there's hollow holes in there. So I will need to return to do that, bring some rock wool back. There's another bigger issue on this AGA, but I'm going to explain that right at the end. And if there's any clever people out there, they've probably spotted it to do with the safety of the appliance. But yeah, we'll talk about that in a minute. So we're just going to put a ring back in, like so, and that's all nice and central. This is the centre plug. We can look in there, we can check when the flame's going. So I'm just going to pop that back. Okay, I'm just going to pop these lids down. As I put them down, I make sure they fit nicely, and I shake them side to side, and that's firm and solid. The same as this one, solid. If it's not, there's hinges at the back on both that we can adjust. And finally, we're just going to lift this pot out here, like so. I'm going to clean that because it's sooty, and I'm going to clean inside here. I better get a better light on that maybe. There you go, look, and it's very sooty in there, so we're going to give that a good clean for the flue as well. Okay, so I've lit the AGA now. You can see it's all going nicely. However, I'm actually going to have to turn this AGA off, I'm afraid. As you can see here, off. Okay, done. The reason I'm doing that is because, unfortunately, there is no fire protection on this AGA. Just inside here, there should be a 90-degree fire valve. So if it catches fire inside, it trips it off in the oil line around the corner. Secondly, there should be a remote acting fire valve sit above here, which is 65 degrees. At the moment, there's a wheel head fire valve that is not suffice for the job. So as much as I've done this and it's ready to light, I'm afraid I'm going to cut the oil supply and they can't use it, and I'll have to issue a CD14. So there we go. So that's the service of a oil-fired converted AGA cooker. So that is it. That's the breakdown done. As always on an AGA, you normally have to service them. I'm just going to go through or go back a couple of steps there. The reason is because I sort of jumped with the lighting of it a little bit because I've done it in a different order to if you was doing it at home. So real basics is you put the lever valve down on the front of the flow control, the little lever, flick it down. You open the knob or do the knob to maximum output on the top. You wait approximately 20 minutes. You lift the little lighting port in the front and you stick a match, or as I had, a long lighter to it until the flame goes. You then leave it up quite high, and after approximately 10 minutes, you'll hear a tiny little pop inside, because essentially when you light it, it's just the outer wick you've lit, and the little pop is because the inner wick has vaporised and what they call flashed over to allow it to go. Once it hits that stage, you just back it off to your normal setting. Normally run at about 2 o'clock, just over halfway, and it will just come up to the line and work absolutely perfect. Okay, so that's basically how you light an AGA if you as a customer lighting it. So that is it. That is everything. Thanks for watching this week's vlog, and I hope you enjoyed it. Subscribe, comment. It's great to hear from people as always. So yeah, have a great weekend, and until next week, everybody, stay safe.